impacts of climate change on agriculture. Climate change is one of the most pressing global challenges of the 21st century, with far-reaching consequences for a range of industries, particularly agriculture. Agriculture is highly sensitive to climate conditions, and as the world experiences rising temperatures, shifting weather patterns, and more extreme weather events, the economic impact on agriculture become increasingly evident. These changes pose significant threats to global food security, agricultural productivity, and the livelihoods of farmers, especially in developing regions. This article explores the economic impacts of climate change on agriculture, considering the direct effects on crop yields, farm incomes, and food prices, as well as the broader implications for economies worldwide. Understanding the link between climate change and agriculture. Agriculture relies heavily on climate conditions such as temperature, rainfall, and growing seasons. Climate change alters these conditions, leading to disruptions in crop production, livestock health, and overall agricultural productivity. Rising temperatures, more frequent droughts, floods, and changing precipitation patterns all directly affect the growing environment. The impacts are especially pronounced in regions that rely heavily on rain-fed agriculture, making them more vulnerable to changes in weather patterns and environmental stresses. Impact of temperature increases on crop yields. One of the most direct effects of climate change on agriculture is the rise in average global temperatures. Elevated temperatures can reduce crop yields, especially for heat-sensitive crops like wheat, rice, and maize. High temperatures accelerate the rate of evaporation, reducing soil moisture and causing droughts, which in turn diminish crop productivity. Additionally, extreme heat can harm the reproductive processes of plants, reducing the overall yield of key staple crops. The economic impact of reduced yields can be seen in lower agricultural output, higher food prices, and increased volatility in global food markets. Changes in rainfall patterns and water availability. The changing patterns of rainfall due to climate change are another major concern for agriculture. Some regions are experiencing more intense and frequent rainfall, leading to flooding and erosion, while others are facing prolonged periods of drought. Both extremes disrupt farming activities and harm crop production. Insufficient water availability affects irrigation, particularly in regions where agriculture is heavily dependent on water-intensive crops. In contrast, excessive rainfall can lead to crop damage, hinder planting and harvesting activities, and contribute to soil degradation. These disruptions translate into significant economic losses for farmers and agricultural businesses. Increased frequency of extreme weather events. Climate change is also contributing to a rise in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, storms, and heat waves. These events can devastate agricultural systems by directly damaging crops, livestock, and infrastructure. For example, hurricanes and tropical storms can destroy fields, flood farms, and disrupt transportation and supply chains, leading to immediate and long-term economic losses. In addition, prolonged heat waves and droughts can cause irreversible damage to crops, especially those that are already vulnerable to climate stress. The economic impact of these events can be widespread, affecting global food prices and agricultural exports. Impact on livestock production and animal health. Livestock farming is also highly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Increased temperatures and extreme weather conditions can directly affect the health and productivity of animals. Heat stress can lead to reduced fertility in livestock, lower milk production, and even death in extreme cases. Additionally, changing weather patterns can increase the prevalence of diseases that affect animals, such as parasites and bacteria, which thrive in warmer and more humid conditions. The economic cost of reduced livestock productivity is significant, especially for economies that rely heavily on animal agriculture. Effects on agricultural labor and productivity. Climate change also affects agricultural labor and the productivity of farm workers. Higher temperatures and increased frequency of extreme weather events can make it more difficult for laborers to work in the fields, leading to a reduced productivity and income for agricultural workers. In addition, the physical toll of extreme weather conditions such as heat exhaustion can reduce the availability of labor, especially in regions that rely on seasonal migrant workers. This labor shortage can further exacerbate food production problems and affect the overall economy of regions dependent on agriculture. Impact on food security and prices. The economic effects of climate change on agriculture extend beyond the farm level to global food security. Reduced agricultural productivity due to changing climate conditions leads to lower food supply, which can drive up food prices. Higher food prices disproportionately affect low-income and developing countries where a significant portion of household income is spent on food. In extreme cases, food shortages can lead to social unrest, malnutrition, and famine. The cost of food also rises in response to transportation disruptions caused by extreme weather, further increasing the burden on consumers, especially in import-dependent countries. The strain on developing economies. Developing countries, especially those in sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, are most vulnerable to the economic impacts of climate change on agriculture. These regions depend heavily on agriculture as a source of income, employment, and food security. Climate change exacerbates existing challenges such as poverty, weak infrastructure, and lack of access to technology and financial resources. As agricultural productivity declines due to changing climate patterns, these countries experience slower economic growth, increased poverty levels, and greater challenges in achieving food security. The role of technology in adapting to climate change. Technological innovations have the potential to help farmers adapt to the changing climate and mitigate some of the negative economic impacts. Advances in agricultural technologies such as drought-resistant crops, precision farming techniques, and efficient irrigation systems can increase crop yields and reduce the reliance on traditional farming practices. Additionally, the development of early warning systems and improved weather forecasting can help farmers prepare for extreme weather events, reducing losses and improving overall resilience. The economic benefits of these technologies can be significant, leading to more sustainable and productive agricultural systems. Policy responses to climate change in agriculture. Governments play a critical role in addressing the economic impacts of climate change on agriculture. Policies that promote climate-resilient farming practices, support sustainable land management, and provide financial assistance to affected farmers can help mitigate some of the negative effects. Investments in research and development for climate-adaptive technologies, as well as subsidies for sustainable farming practices, can enhance agricultural productivity and resilience. Furthermore, international cooperation on climate change adaptation and climate finance can help developing countries cope with the economic impacts of climate-related disasters. The economic impact of climate change on global trade. Agriculture is an integral part of global trade, with many countries relying on the export of agricultural products to generate revenue. Climate change can disrupt global trade by affecting crop yields, transportation networks, and international supply chains. For example, droughts and floods in major agricultural exporting countries can reduce the global supply of key commodities such as grains, coffee, and cocoa, leading to higher global prices. In addition, trade restrictions and tariffs may rise in response to climate-related challenges, further complicating international agricultural trade. Climate change and agricultural insurance markets. As climate risks to agriculture increase, the demand for agricultural insurance is rising. Farmers are increasingly turning to insurance products to protect themselves against the economic impacts of climate-related events such as droughts, floods, and storms. However, as climate change increases the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, insurance companies may struggle to keep pace with the growing risks. Rising premiums and changes in coverage options may limit the accessibility of insurance for smallholder farmers, especially in developing countries. This could exacerbate the vulnerability of these farmers to climate-related shocks. The potential for sustainable agricultural practices. Sustainable agricultural practices can help mitigate the impacts of climate change while promoting long-term economic stability. Techniques such as agroforestry, conservation tillage, and organic farming can improve soil health, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and enhance water retention, making farms more resilient to climate stress. While sustainable practices often require initial investment and knowledge, the long-term benefits include improved productivity, reduced environmental impact, and enhanced profitability for farmers. Promoting sustainable agriculture is not only critical for mitigating climate change, but also for ensuring the continued viability of global food systems. The need for international cooperation on climate change and agriculture. Climate change is a global issue that requires international cooperation to address its economic impacts on agriculture. Climate change does not respect borders, and the effects on agriculture will be felt worldwide. As such, coordinated efforts between countries, international organizations, and the private sector are essential to develop and implement effective strategies for adaptation and mitigation. Sharing knowledge, technology, and financial resources will help ensure that farmers across the globe are better equipped to face the challenges posed by climate change and build more resilient agricultural systems. The economic impacts of climate change on agriculture are vast and multifaceted, affecting everything from crop yields and livestock production to global food security and trade. The changing climate presents significant challenges, especially for developing countries that rely heavily on agriculture. However, appropriate policies, technological innovation, and international collaboration, it's possible to mitigate these impacts and create a more sustainable and resilient agricultural system. Ultimately, addressing the economic challenges posed by climate change requires a concerted effort from governments, businesses, and farmers alike to build an agricultural sector capable of withstanding the uncertainties of changing climate.